Hello and welcome to Intuition Fridays here on the Beyond Mystic YouTube, Rumble, and X channels. My name is ASHALA Yardley. I'm here with my delightful co-host, Penny Kelly. Welcome, Penny.
Hi. Hello to everybody out there as well. And it's really, I think for some reason this weekend is going to be special. It's my father's birthday. If he were still here, we'd be celebrating that. But I've had this feeling of it's a wonderful, wonderful world ever since I woke up this morning. So I hope to, kind of push or share some of that so that people are just happy to be here.
Oh, I love it, Penny. Thank you so much for that perspective. And so we'll just take a moment here to check in with everybody. And here's our banner. If you haven't joined us before, this is the new Intuition Fridays. Actually, not that new. We've been doing these for a few months now with ASHALA.
A year.
Penny
a
Kelly.
year.
Yeah, you've been doing them a year, and you and I have been doing them together for, I think, probably just a few months. But anyway, I'm absolutely loving our shows. So most Fridays here on the Beyond Mystic YouTube and Rumble and X channels. And Penny and I cover so many diverse topics. Penny often brings a theme in, and then we get going and we just expand into the experience that we have both had many, many decades of working with intuitive practices, consciousness evolution, and so on. Now, Penny, I want to take a moment to share this extraordinary thing that just happened, because we both sort of showed up here a little bit frazzled with all of our other demands. And Penny had sent me a video to watch, but somehow it didn't get sent to me. It didn't get reply all, and I just got it like a few minutes before the show, and I didn't even look at it. I just looked at a link, and I was like, well, I don't have time to watch it now. So we came on and started chatting about the topic, which is love, true love, real. What's the real definition of love? Romantic love versus real love. And then Penny said, oh, too bad you didn't get to watch the video. She said it's by Alan Watts, and it's called?
I'm not sure the exact title, but it's Why the Awakened Never Fall in Love Again.
And I said, Penny, you're not going to believe it. I just watched that video yesterday. And then Penny said, that's when I was going to send it to you.
Yeah. All day I kept thinking I should send her that on love, because I want to talk about that. And she already watched it.
There is an example in my intuitive circles. We call that angel radio.
Oh,
Penny,
okay.
You sent me that link through the ethers. And this is a really good example of the miraculous things that can happen when you're in this intuitive bandwidth and open. Like I don't know what made me click on that. I didn't even watch very much media yesterday. It literally just came into my feed, and something about it drew me, and I listened, and I really resonated with the message. So isn't that incredible?
Yeah. And I have questions frequently about, I often say to people, you need to fall in love. And then I think that's not the way to say it. It's not about falling in love. You need to enter into a state of love in which you fall in love with everything, from the pencils on your desk to the shoes on your feet to the walls that hold your space for you, to everything. And when you get to that place, you're just in love with everything and everyone, and it is wonderful. And that doesn't mean that you don't see the crap, and you don't see the shallow stuff, or you don't hear the hurtful words that people are saying. All of that is still there. And it doesn't matter, because you're not swayed by those kinds of illusions anymore. You're in a place where you see and you hear what's really going on. And so falling in love, I think, started with the the advertisements that started connecting sex to everything. Oh, it's all romance. Oh, you could, if you buy this product, look what you could have, this gorgeous man or this beautiful woman or this, exciting, wonderful life. And that's, I don't want to say that it never happens, but that is really one of the big segues that we did, kind of got off track with real love, and started thinking that it was all about romance, and it was about romantic love. And I don't know a single soul, not a single individual who has gotten married, who hasn't, after 5 or 6 years, kind of stalled out with the romance thing. Not to say that it can't be recreated, because it can, and it should be a little bit, but you can't be in that place of, oh, it's all romantic and wonderful every minute, because we live in a real world that requires real perception. And so it's really, I think, important to talk about what is love, real love, and how do we get there, and what does love do and not do, and all that kind of thing. So, so we're gonna be in love today.
We're going to be in the topic of love. And
Yeah.
Penny, would you indulge me for a moment to give you my synopsis of some of the major things, like actually the main point I got from that video, which I loved, is that there is, in that old version of romantic love, I want to call it almost like, it's not the old style love that goes before, as you say, a lot of the kind of commercialization and the romantic notions, which to me were about giving us a distraction away from all that was going down. That basically people who are in that type of desire relationship, it's all about needing another person to feel complete. That it is this idea that you need something, and you have to present the part of you that fills the need of the other person. So you have to automatically make yourself small and fit in this bandwidth of what the other person needs. And he basically said in the video, this is an agreement on both sides that you're going to play a fake game.
That's right.
A fake
I know,
game.
I love her.
Right? I love that too. I was like, it's, you're going to pretend that you're all this that I need, and I'm going to pretend that I'm all this that you need. But neither of us are being our whole selves.
That's right.
The illusion is that we're going to basically be able to cheat, not have to do as much work, because we're going to project our needs onto the other person, and they're going to fill it.
That's right.
And he basically said, when we become whole people, relationships aren't out of that kind of need anymore. They're not out of the need to complete yourself. They are based on expanding who you already are to become better versions of yourself, basically. But he was interesting, that what I found interesting, Penny, is that he said, not people aren't interested romantically in somebody that doesn't need them.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They just kind of don't even see those people. They're nice to talk to, maybe have coffee with or something, but if you are looking for somebody who needs you, you will not see the person who's really mature and, who's present and who sees and hears and really responds to you. People often don't like you to respond to what they're presenting, because they don't see what they are presenting. They are lost in some illusion. You use the word illusion, and he used that a lot. And that is one of the things that I have said to so many people: let go of the illusion and let's be real. What are you feeling? And when you get into a relationship that you just described it perfectly, where you need him and he needs you, and then it fades, and he doesn't need you in the same way that he needed you before, you feel betrayed. You feel like, he doesn't love me or she doesn't love me anymore. And that's not the case. The whole thing is growing, expanding. And if one person grows and expands and the other doesn't, the relationship will come to an end. And that's really, people they get so hurt. It's like, oh, sweetheart, don't be hurt. You've got your whole self, for most of it, it should have. And you'll be fine. Don't you want him? Don't you love him enough to say to him, I want you to be happy? Real love is wishing another well. And when that's missing, then it's not real love. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's immaturity is what it is. It's childishness and thinking that somebody's going to take care of you so you don't have to take care of yourself. And that doesn't last. It's really sad. So I think when you get to a stage in life where you're fully mature, the whole idea of falling in love, if you just take out the word falling and look at that, it's like, uh-oh, something fell over. What was it? Was it your sense of self, your self-esteem? What fell down? And people don't see it that way, but I do. And when people use that term, then immediately I think, they still believe in the illusion. And romance is wonderful now and then. A night of romance is just really great. But for the most part, life is really demanding. And when you're trying to take care of yourself and everything that you've got going in your life, I don't know, it's really taxing would be the best word, the nicest word, to take on somebody else's needs and try to be filling them up. Something's going to give somewhere along the line. So
yes, and that's what really struck me. And of course, I have my own background to draw on with regards to these analysis of relationships, and it really struck me how we become. Somebody had mentioned their codependency, and it's like we've been told in order to have love, you've got to play this game. And you've got to continue to not be fully actualized in yourself. You've got to be somehow dependent on this person. And that's what creates the glue that holds you together. Yeah. And for us to, like you say, once we mature, a lot of people are no longer willing to pretend that they need these certain things, or that they're willing to provide this kind of crutch to another person. They're just no longer willing to give their power away in order to receive love. And I appreciated how he said that the love of a mature, what did he call it? A fully self-aware human being doesn't need it. It's like you said, it experiences love everywhere. It experiences love in sharing it, the beauty, the gifts, all of the things, and it doesn't need to be even needed. Right?
Yeah. It doesn't need to be taken care of constantly, because that individual is taking care of themselves. And there's a responsibility. I think he mentioned that at some point in there. And that willingness to be responsible for yourself and your life and what you're doing. I don't think we know quite, a lot of people don't know quite how to have that kind of relationship. And we need that right now. We need that kind of relationship. And it forces us to let go of illusions. And I'm thinking back, I speak from experience myself.
Me too.
Just, falling in love head over heels and insisting that I was going to make that relationship work. And I just got walked all over and ended up broken hearted, broken pocketbook, broken life, broken family, broken everything. And I ached for a year or two after that because I was still clinging to that illusion that, you know, that this person was my, what do they call that?
Soulmate.
Twin. Yeah,
Twin
soulmate,
flame.
twin flame.
Twin flame.
Yeah. And he was nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. And it just, it was degrading is what it was in the end. Well, I finally had to let go of the illusion. And you enter into this period where you feel like you're hardening, which is part of the building of that rock. I think we've talked about that rock. You have to have a rock inside of you, and it's a place where no one goes. And that's where that saying in the Bible comes from. You know, you can't build a belief system unless you have that rock. That's where the saying, thou art Peter. Peter means the rock. Thou art Peter. And upon that rock, you can build a belief structure that will carry you into a higher consciousness, into all the gifts of humanity, into your full potential as a human. And we don't get there. Too many people don't get there. They don't get to that point of recognizing their gifts or realizing their potential or even trying anything. And just you and I and the, you know, I was going to send you this yesterday, this video, the link to watch that video. And, you know, it was just like, oh, there's an example of the kind of coincidental, we'll call it, synchronicities that occur once you start being open and in communication with yourself and in love with the world around you, and messages for you come in to you. And that's just a little, you know, little tiny piece of that telepathic communication that is pretty standard in some of the higher, I'll say more expansive, what would I call it, civilizations that have a different kind of consciousness. So, yeah, we're at a place where we need to be in love, in a state of love.
Definitely. Well, and you know, in that state of love, for example, as you were saying, you know, the higher evolved or the more expansively evolved civilizations that could communicate telepathically, part of what is required, people are often asking me, you know, when I'm teaching intuition, developing intuition, you know, well, how do you make it happen? Like how do you guarantee it's going to happen? I'm like, you absolutely do not guarantee it's going to happen. That's the opposite, the exact opposite. Because that's kind of like saying, you know, I'm going to guarantee I'm going to keep this person in my life by being needy and them being needy and us needing each other codependently. It's the same thing. I'm going to guarantee that I'm going to be able to send Penny a message and she'll get it because we're both these intuitive masters. It don't work like that, folks. It's the opposite of that. It is absolutely, you're in your heart, you're open-hearted, you're loving life, you're expansive. And lo and behold, whoop, oh my gosh, look at that. Miracle happened. And every one of them I treat like the rare, extraordinary miracle they are, even if they're happening every day, all day long.
Yeah.
I never take that for granted. I tell people as a reader, I never think of myself as a super evolved, skilled reader, even though I have extraordinary things happening on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But I don't take that for granted and I don't depend on it. I'm not needing that. I'm honored by it.
That's right. That's right. Things come to you. They just come because you need them or you're ready for them. You don't even have to know that you're ready. But if you have a curiosity about something, the more evolved you get, the more you draw that information to you. And it just comes naturally. And sometimes when it comes in the form of a voice, very powerful voice, it'll shock you. But most of the time, it's very quiet. It comes very quietly, and you just go about your business and you discover, oh, I have what I need. Oh, I just watched that yesterday, that kind of thing. So I have had times when I've heard that voice, deep, deep, powerful voice, say something to me, in such a way that it was, what was that? That kind of shock reaction. And there is, when we're so busy demanding and so busy not listening, sometimes that voice will break through, but typically not. You have to get quiet and you have to accept whatever the situation is. And I think we're at a point where we are going to need, over the next couple of years, some really mature love to be floating around in our world, because when you're in that state, there's clarity. And I think that's the thing you just mentioned. In fact, another point for clarity. When you're in that state of love, you see what is. You're not looking through the filters of all these childhood illusions or all these media-generated illusions or all of the family-generated illusions. You're right there in your present, and you see what is. And you don't need the guarantee that, that the message is going to come through, because the guarantee that you have is, I can guarantee you I'm watching, and I can guarantee you I'm going to act or react or speak or deliberately ignore something that I see happening. And so you don't need any guarantees, which are a substitute for control, because you're there and present and interacting. And when you don't know how to interact in an open way, then you will stumble, you'll make some mistakes, but your heart will be in the right place. And when it is, and you open your mouth and say something that you think, oh, whoops, or you do something that you say, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, you're reflecting on it later, that's you learning, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to say that again. I'm not going to look at her or him that way again, etc. You end up learning from your own self. Where's your ethics? Where's your values? Where is your love? And love is a willingness to wish another well and to be very tolerant. Not to the point that you shouldn't be tolerant, to the point that you allow, how do I say this? You allow somebody to do something to hurt you because that is bad for the other person. It might be painful for you or embarrassing, but I had an experience long time ago in which, this is probably 15 years ago, in which I was questioning Jesus. I was having this argument with Jesus, and the argument was sort of like this. He's saying you need to love everyone, and when you love to the fullest, then you can do extraordinary things on a moment's notice without thinking about them. You just react. And I said, give me an example. I was into, I need proof, lots of proof. And he said, okay. He handed me a gun. He said, shoot me. And I was like, and he said, go ahead, shoot me. And he kept encouraging me. Finally, I pulled the trigger. He caught the bullet and he handed it back to me. And I said, how did you do that? He said, my love for you won't let you do something that would cause you great pain in the future. Oh. And I was stunned. I was like, oh, okay. So it was one of those moments that I have never forgotten. And it was a very clear The quickness with which, I mean, he was catching that bullet as I was letting my finger off the trigger. I mean, just the instant reaction. He said, I love you. I don't want you to do anything that will hurt you in the long run. And I think that's, we need to adopt a little bit of that. Would be helpful to understand what true love is, because it starts with the body. Originally, I was thinking, I want to talk about the body because I had this amazing experience on board a ship 2 nights ago. And it was really about taking people to the next level of understanding how to love the body, how to see the body, how to feel about it, how to take care of it, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was thinking, we were going to, maybe you and I would talk about the body and love for the body, but then it just came down to plain old love. Because that love.
Plain old. Plain old.
Well, maybe I shouldn't maybe say it quite like that. Yeah, ordinary love that we just walk with and hold in ourselves every single day. And I think that we have some things to learn about how to love. How do you get to that love? And it starts by letting yourself love in what you think is love, and then watching how you feel, what happens in those situations. And when you consistently, you have, let's say, a girlfriend, and you consistently come away from those encounters feeling off, for some reason, you have to look at what's going on here. I would say that I really loved her, or it could be 2 guys, or it could be, a woman and her male friend. How do you begin to communicate to that friend that something feels not right in the relationship? And you have to, that leads you then to watch. Okay, we're getting together, we're having a good conversation, all of a sudden, what happened? What was the turning point? We often don't see that. The same thing holds true for when couples get into an argument. They can never pinpoint for a long time where was the point that he said something or she said something that really triggered the other. And you have to learn to keep watching. It usually takes 3 really intense tries where you're listening. This kind of conversation always leads to a big argument, and you're going right into it, and you miss the trigger. And all of a sudden you're in the argument and you think, I knew this was coming. How is it that how could I not have caught it? And so you replay in your mind, you will blank at the point where the trigger word happened, where you got shot or you shot somebody with your mouth. Mm-hmm. And so the next time that happens, you're watching again and you catch the trigger, but you can't avoid the argument. And you get right into it. You think, okay, I got to hold on this. I can handle this. And you end up right in the same argument. The third time, when you say, okay, we can't be having this kind of an argument. This is not productive. And so you're watching, and when the trigger word happens, you change tactics. And you might have to practice changing tactics 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 or 5 times, maybe even more, depends on how fierce the trigger is. But when the trigger gets pulled, you immediately get very, very present. And you say, oh, wow, that usually triggers me or you. And you lead the conversation in a different direction. The other person will typically try to keep the argument going the first couple times you do that, and you can't be hooked anymore. And then, you keep on becoming entirely present when you reach that point again, because he or she will bring it up again, trying to win or whatever. And so you end up in this place where you have this great clarity, and where you're listening to every single word, and you have practiced how to respond in your mind, you've practiced how to respond to that trigger. And so that is very similar to catching the bullet so that the person that you're arguing with doesn't get upset, because you love and you don't want that person to be upset. So, and eventually you come to a place where you realize that's his or her point of view. That's how they see it. That's how they feel. And you can even ask questions about that. You know, where did that come from? Or sometimes you just can't even ask any questions, but you fiddle around and try different responses until you conquer that one thing, that one trigger, and the relationship gets a little smoother. And maybe, you know, there'll be another incident that comes up down the road, maybe a week later, maybe 5 years later, who knows. But you, by that time, have gotten into the habit of really being present in every conversation, and you begin to head off. You know, when you hear, I can hear all kinds of things in people's voices. They crack, they shimmy, they shake, they shiver. They express an elation, they express a horror, they express an excitement, they express hurt. The sound carries all of those things. And when you start responding to that, immediately people open, and everybody ends up better off, and everybody ends up a little bit better at loving. So that's the reason behind that whole spiel. So
I love it.
okay.
Penny, there's so many amazing things that you've shared. That story about catching the bullet, so that it's actually not so much to save ourselves, but actually to save that person, because when we get hurt, well, that's a karmic, you know, something's happened to us, but how we respond to that is what's going to create our karmic journey beyond that. But for the other person, when we hurt someone, when we attack, that creates a karmic cycle for them, that they're going to be living out the consequences of that on and on and on until they get the healing. So not giving them a lot of opportunity to hurt you. And when we think back to this discussion about Alan Watts and that you know, interview with him, where he's saying, you know, we both sides agree to play small, to play needy with each other. It's like a recipe for hurting each other, isn't it? It's like you're just basically saying, guess what? I'm going to pretend I won't disappoint you, but you know what? I'm pretending because I can't guarantee that, because I'm an autonomous person that's going to do all kinds of things. And I can't play this game of I'll be always there for you in this way. That's just not realistic. It's not it. So we're setting ourselves up with these really challenging karmic cycles in these relationships, romantic love relationships, because we're basically saying, look, we're going to play this needy game together, and we're going to end up hurting each other, and we're both going to create more negative karma that we're then going to have to resolve later. Like, so I got a couple of places I want to go from here. One is, as we went further on into that video, he does talk about how, in a way, it's a bit of a lonely existence, being a very self-aware, loving person that isn't needy.
Well, he says it looks lonely, but it doesn't always feel lonely.
Correct.
So I would, I'm sorry, I interrupted. So
no, but you're right. So it does look lonely, but it doesn't always feel lonely. And then that kind of expands into this question that I love. Whether Gesser put up this question: what is love? What is love? So can we pull some cards on that, Penny? Can we see what the cards say about that?
Okay, so I'm going to say what I have learned love is. Love is an honest response, period. It's an honest response. And there's no games. There's no game being played. And that doesn't mean that you hit people over the head with your honest response. It's an honest response that is shaped to be perfect for the person in the situation that the two of you are in. But it's and to pretend, you're lying to your friend, you're lying to your lover, you're lying, to yourself. So, yeah, go ahead. What is love?
I'm curious to see what our cards are going to tell us about this.
Yeah, I know.
And I do have my own perspective on it as well. I call it presence. So interesting. You're saying honest response, and I'm saying presence.
Right.
And also the frequency of perfection, which actually is not, I learned about, I think we might have talked about this before. I discovered that perfection is not 100%. It's the frequency of 77.7, which is always, that number 7, which is the spiritual number. It's always, you're always recommitting to being spiritually present, which is, like you were saying, honest response and also forgiveness. So it's this energy of being fully present in forgiveness and honesty.
Yes.
It's beautiful, isn't it? And let's see what the cards have to add to this to make it even more accessible for all of us, because that sounds great, but it's not easy to do that ever.
Yeah, we know. It does take some practice. So,
okay, so us and what is love? What is love? It's being, look at this. It's in the eye of the storm.
Yeah, right.
The wheel, right? Things are spinning around in all directions, but you're in the center. It's maybe staying centered amidst change. Okay, so this is what we've been tricked into thinking love is all these things. It's the beautiful girl, the beautiful guy. It's the promise of forever and ever and the diamond rings and all these things, right? That's what we've been told it is. It's this fantasy, basically. That's the fantasy card. And we realize actually when we're called, and I think you said this earlier, Penny, something about it's how we respond to what's needed in life, because a real ideal match of love is about what you do well together to make the world a better place. Like, how do you respond to the world? Whether it's raising children, growing food, dealing with crises, how do you show up?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. Those are some powerful cards.
Right. And look at this. And then it's about what you work on, what you build together. So it isn't about building up each other's ego or propping each other up, because if you're just focused on propping each other up, you can't do anything out in the world. All you're going to get to do is be this propped up crutch for each other. You're just going to stumble along together. But if you're both standing autonomous, you can actually kind of hold a purposeful direction together and put energy into it without throwing each other off. So the power of 3, the power of the 3, you can create something together.
Wow.
That's what love is, the ability to co-create something, because you're both uniquely strong individuals. And you come together with a purpose. That's what they're saying. Love is standing in that presence.
Yeah, it's in a way the cards really have been laid out such that they show, just like you said, that the card where the 2 of Swords, where she's blindfolded, that's, to me, that's lost in your illusions and not thinking clearly. Swords are about thought, intellectual, whatever, and all those choices, all those things that we think are love. that really aren't all that much love. And then the wheel, you get on that wheel of love. It's kind of like a hamster wheel, and around you go. And you are in the eye of the storm sometimes, but then when you start building together, then you have an opportunity for real love, which is the Lover's card, and the Judgment card. All of that judgment stuff. Right there. All of that judgment that we have about what love is, all of that just falls away. And now we begin. Judgment card is really about waking up. And so you wake up to, okay, there's something missing here in this idea, this idea of love that we've been taught or that's been pushed on us and that we have swallowed hook, line, and sinker. Because it is a fun game for a while. But then, justice, to me, that's the legal system. People get married. Now the relationship is not between the man and the woman. It's between the man, the woman, and the state. And the state has a big say in what the rights are and what the duties and what the, all of the stuff that you've collected and blah, blah, blah. And why does the state care? Because they want people to get married and produce children so they have citizens for their state. So they have soldiers for their armies. So they have people to run their systems that they want to control. And the state is a good thing, and it's got some, if it was a little more of an enlightened state, it would be wonderful. But a lot of times it isn't. And we're at a point where the state is not very enlightened at this moment in time. So, so it's a perfect layout of this is what love is considered to be nowadays. And really and truly, it's something that I think goes way beyond what most people think it is. So it's way beyond waking up into I love that word presence, because I often say to people, when you become fully awakened, you're present. And now you really don't need the ego, because the ego's job is to watch and make sure that you are safe. That's the only thing the ego does, really. And when you're there and you're watching and you're present, the ego just falls to the background. So you don't, I tell people, don't be fussing about getting rid of the ego, because too often people end up becoming a doormat, and that is not good. And I learned that from the elves here on the farm, who said, we don't want to deal with doormats. When I was asking, why do you come around and bother me? Why me, kind of thing. And so they said, because you think, because you stand up, because you argue back, because you teach us about what it is to be human. So we need to teach one another about what it means to be a male or what it is to be a female. And I think the fascination of that learning is fabulous. Learning about somebody else and how they are, it's like, oh, wow. That, I think it's amazing. So, yeah.
Absolutely amazing and interesting. I'm going to put the cards back up here for a second. Interesting, this energy of the lovers. And I feel like, in a way, like you said, the justice being that this energy of lovers and love, intimacy, sexuality has been hijacked.
Oh, yes, unfortunately.
Right? It's been hijacked because it's a very powerful force. It's
an
extremely powerful force. And, throughout all our ancient indigenous history, that force was worked with and regulated by cultural practices that allowed people to know their place, right? It's like
right.
you knew that you had these responsibilities. You didn't just get to exchange sexual energy and walk away.
Right.
You had it was all based on responsibility. If you were to have access sexually to someone, you were marrying into their whole clan. You had responsibilities to their elders and grandmothers and everybody, right? Like it wasn't, you didn't just spread that sexual energy everywhere.
Yeah.
Every part of it had, it wasn't about controlling it or locking it in as much as it was about like working with it usefully. It was going to make bonds that grew into great social networks where people could work together and do amazing things. You
Yeah.
know, it was actually treated as the beautiful medicine that it is, which is it can create so much strength in a system if it's worked with, you know, intelligently and with the heart and consciousness. But if it's just used as a transactional thing that's part of helping distract us from being in a slavery system, and it's basically twisted into this power dominant thing, oh my gosh, what a nightmare. What a nightmare. It's been a huge part of controlling us.
Yeah. It in the old days, the bride or the husband was assessed, and I got this from my grandma who came from Germany. She said if they weren't healthy, nobody was interested. Nobody wanted to be saddled with somebody who didn't have the energy, the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual energy to do all of the work that was required. And I was like, that was pretty rude, Grandma. She said, no, it wasn't. It was pretty practical. And so they looked for people who would be the best fit in that family or that clan. And that best fit often was the best fit. And everybody maintained like a recognized role, I guess would be the best way to say it. And the new person who came in had to make their way. Sometimes it was awkward in the beginning, but often it melded into something that was just beautiful. And so lots and lots of things, lots of people and systems started to fall apart with the Middle Ages, in the Middle Ages, when the Industrial Revolution started, everything started to break apart. So we, I think, have been in a slow motion, destructive streak for love, real love, for probably 500 years. And it's not, you know, it wasn't everywhere that it fell apart at once, but we're at a point now where I don't see a lot of evidence of people being in a state of love or having the wisdom that love brings, or the courage that love brings, or the strength that love brings. And they certainly don't have the clarity. And we so desperately need that from our leaders. And I don't see many of them having those, at least those three things: clarity and courage, wisdom, and strength. So actually that's four things, but I often think of courage, strength, and you know, the clarity to be able to see what is as the critical pieces. And so we keep getting told stories. It's almost like our leaders are pretending with us. And it's been really disappointing for a lot of people. They know they're being conned. They know that this isn't going to last, that there's going to be a divorce somewhere down the road in terms of us and our governments. And I'm hoping that we, the people, can enter into a state of love that holds us together no matter what is happening with all the leadership of the governments of the world. I think we're moving past governments and into, I'm going to say, a combination of new forms of family and networks. Family networks is really what it's going to come down to. So nations, yeah, they still work. They're useful, but their time is over. And it's really the time of networks and connections and families And families are people who live and work well together. And you can't live and work well together without that love. Has to be there. So.
And we hear, and I do believe that there are incredible, rare kinds of love stories that
There are. I love them.
There are rare loves that are, to me, almost like signals of, like an archetypal story that's being played out between two people. And so, and a lot of times those kinds of rare loves were treated specially by a wise ancient culture. They would be like, okay, this is maybe they're not supposed to marry that one from that other place or whatever. That's their enemy, the Romeo and Juliet thing, right? But there was something, maybe it was a signal when those two fell in love that there was peace ready to be made. And so, it's also that love does have this way of being a messenger. Real love it's an expander. It's not a contractor. And so, like you're saying, Penny, there's all these different types of extraordinary human love, including the way we love our leaders. And that, like you said, that's another one of those relationships of codependency. Look, I'll play small, you play small, we'll need each other, and we'll just get through this. It's like, no, we can do better than that. And as we grow into being it's the same recipe for good, healthy relationship, becoming autonomous and whole in yourself. You're like, no, I'm not going to fall for dangling carrots of we'll give you this and this and this if you just jump through these hoops. I'm not interested in that. I'm like, I'd rather live on the periphery and not have access to all those illusions that you're showing me. I'd rather stay over here and mind my own business and do what I can do myself, look after myself, be more responsible for myself. And that is real love. Like you're saying, Penny, and the more of us that are living like that, the harder it's going to be to keep selling us this other version of shortcut.
Yeah. It's another illusion. It's another deception. It's not, it isn't sustainable. We had, for a period of time, there was a lot of talk about sustainability, and it was always around energy. And, I would think to myself, what about sustainable bodies that are healthy? What about sustainable relationships that learn and grow and flower together? What about sustainable communities, families that are sustainable? And somehow sustainability got to be a bad word because the World Economic Forum took it over and started pushing sustainable this and sustainable that.
Green agenda. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so it kind of fell to the side, but we need some stability, and love is stable. Love is incredibly stable. And a couple of times I have thought to myself, why is it that love gives you this feeling that you're stable? And I think it's because that great source that we're made of, that is very stable. Very stable. And that's our core. That's our core self. So we have this innate stability that goes hand in glove with that great love, that power of great love, the clarity, the wisdom, the ability to say, I think I'm going to do this, or I think I'm going to create that, or I think I'm going to not respond to that because it's not, it isn't worth responding to, or I'm just going to watch and see where that guy goes with that, So everybody is watching right now to see where our leaders are going. And I think they're going into the toilet, but that's just my opinion. And I don't want that. I want them to somehow wake up and celebrate loving us instead of playing the deceptive game. Yeah.
that deceptive game is getting really old and boring. And I think what's really amazing is to see that it's just not working as well anymore. And therefore, they have to evolve their game to keep up with us.
That's I love that. I love that. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. They have to, because we're demanding more, because we're not falling for as much.
Right.
And also we're evolving to the place where we're just cutting them off. We're like, it's interesting. We did a poll yesterday on the Rabbit Hole show, Crystal and I, about silver, and it was like basically this energy, which is that, does this rise in metals have to do with this player out there doing this and this move and this maneuver and all this and that? And it was like, actually, it felt as though it was spirit and the natural world saying, oh, I know who I want to start having advantage. I want these folks that have open hearts, critical thinking, autonomy, right? They're becoming sovereign. I want them to finally get on to the up wave, right?
That's
And
right.
it's like spirit is showing up for us and giving us a boost here. And you can say, oh yeah, but a lot of the deep state still has their coffers full. It's like, well, the game's not over, folks.
No, it's not.
Spirit will find a way to do amazing things with all of those things. It's like, so the best way we work through all of this is in our heart, staying in pure love frequency. There's a lot of forgiveness. There's a lot of pivoting moment to moment. My daughter Crystal says, acceptance is the highest form of love.
Yeah.
So it's accepting what is, not getting into like, oh, I'm going to fight you, right? Like when you were shooting the bullet at Jesus, you didn't say, oh, Penny, look out, I'm getting my gun out, you're next. He was like,
I know. I can't believe I shot it.
He's like, I was kidding.
Right. Too late. Oh my.
So, like instead of reacting to that, he softened around it like the Aikido, right? He became like the stillness where he could be that present that he could catch it in midair.
I know. Yeah.
It's like that is, and that, no, I don't care how much AI cabal structure you've got. Those moments in between moments can never be captured. And that's where love and magic live.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's the perfect conclusion. It's in those in between moments. All the stuff that we focus on is usually because we love drama, but the love is what stabilizes us. And that's what is in between all that drama, all those drama moments. So if we could just enjoy life a little bit more and laugh at the ridiculousness of things that are unfolding, it's like, oh my goodness, they think they're going to do something good with that, or they think they're going to get away with that. Oh, wow, watch out. It's almost become a movie that is funny. It's reaching the ridiculous at this point. And love is what balances that ridiculousness. So we need that love, it helps people decide. It's not even really decide, like to become what they want to become and to not get caught up in stuff that it isn't good for them or doesn't further their own development or their own joy or. So, there's what love does and what love doesn't do that I think we need to be aware of. So, and we just need to not fall for all the, the pretending that's going on, whether it's in the personal relationship, in our work situation, or in the big national scene, which is a little messy right now. So it's like, oh, wow, this is going to change. This is really change. It is changing.
It
So,
is. It absolutely is. Well, Penny, we're up at the hour. Amazing.
oh,
What a conversation we've had.
yeah,
And yeah, I think there's a lot of places we can go from here. And I love the idea of focusing on the body. I think that would
yes,
be a great thing. We could do that next week.
next week. We
You know,
will be
sort
here next week, but the week after that, I have to teach Intuition 7. And so next week, we'll focus on the body. And maybe
that's
we'll only get halfway through all the things we could say, but we'll start.
we'll start, and we've got more time to keep going
Yeah,
later on.
right.
So before we sign off here, folks, I'm just going to bring up some of these cards to give you the reminders. Well, we didn't even look at your website, Penny. So if you want to find Penny, you can find her here at pennykelly.com, where you can look at her store, her classes, her ebooks. Beautiful. Subscribe to her newsletter. And if you would like to book a tarot reading, a psychic tarot reading with me, you can find me over here on beyondmysticconsultations.net. And I'm taking bookings for the week after next. And also we have some sales on the platform that have just, I think, about 48 hours left on them. Crypto bundle level 1, 2, and 3, 50% off with code crypto50 capitals, valid till October 19th. And also Red October 50% off insider access pass code IAP50, which also expires on the 19th, which is the day after tomorrow. So there we go.
Okay. All right.
Any last words that you want to share, Penny? Last thoughts to part with?
Yeah, I think just one sentence that I would say, I tell my children this all the time. Let yourself love and let that love change you. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to change your core. So let it.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful way to feel into how do we restore our ability to love in that natural human way, that natural pure human way. And I want my last thoughts to go out there to be about the strength of love. And I feel as though we have this illusion that love is just something fluffy, oh, well, love everybody and everything will be okay. And I am brought to the realization of so many of the masters, including Jesus, who walked among the most destitute criminals, the most challenged members of society, the murderers, the criminals, the degenerates. And Christ could walk among those people and love and raise their frequency with his presence, his compassion, his pure heart. Tell me that isn't powerful. That like if you can stand in that darkness and heal it, that is the most powerful force there is. So think of the power of your ability to love. And let's get into it. Let's learn well.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I would second that wholeheartedly. Let's get into it. So
love it. Love it. Love you, Penny. Big hugs to you, dear.
yeah.
And love all of you in the comments. It's been delightful as always to share with you. We will be back next Friday. Join us here and have a beautiful week. Till then.
Yeah. Amen. Love you. Take care.
Bye for now, everybody.